Good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining us for this session, AI for Car Dealers, Practical Solutions for Today and Innovations for Tomorrow. Our experts today are Johan Sundstrand from Phyron and Sophie Birshan from Google Automotive, or Head of Automotive at Google. Just to make it clear, you won't be able to hear us unless you've got your headphones on. So if you haven't already grabbed a pair of headphones, there's probably still a few sets at the back, so please do that now. Otherwise you'll miss out, and we won't have a chance to share our insights with you. Everybody good? Yep, right, let's start. Fantastic. Thanks for joining us again this morning. Looking forward to a really good AM Live, and this is a great session to get it started with. AI is such a hot topic at the moment. What would you both say are the big consumer trends that are changing how consumers are shopping for cars? Why does AI matter? Sophie, do you want to go first on that one?
So at Google, we love looking at consumer trends, and particularly queries, which is what people are actually typing into our search engine. So it's a real guide to real consumer behavior. And we've seen in all categories, not just auto, just a massive explosion of shopping around, research and discovery. If you think about yourselves, how you might shop even for clothes or furniture, and the level of research. So what that means in the auto industry is, firstly, people just being very open to search without a brand in mind. So a few years ago, people might have put in like, oh, what's the best Vauxhall, or tell me about a Volkswagen SUV. Now they'll put in best SUV for 3 kids and a dog with off-street parking. So that all of that, and means they're very open searches, and also just the complexity of the journeys. So Google is the main source people use, but actually they're using on average like 7 different online-only sources, and that's before you even take into account the offline ones, dealer websites, OEM websites, and a lot of rich content like comparisons and the reviews. So YouTube is growing 25% year on year, so huge growth in video. And that means a lot more competition. So as people search and discover, they start discovering new brands. It's fueled, of course, by new entrants into the market and discovering EVs. So just even 3 years ago, each brand would be compared to, say, 4 other brands, and now that's doubled. And for some brands, they're being compared to more than 10 other different brands in the market. So it's AI becomes really important because you've got to put the right message out there to the right customer at the right time, because it's just become so fierce.
Okay. And Johan, what's your thoughts on that?
Yeah, this is where, yeah. I mean, I don't have that much to add to that, actually. I would say, especially I think the social media channels are growing like hell. I mean, if you combine all the social media channels today, over 80% of time spent is actually consuming video also. So we have to start to plan a little bit more for that. I mean, I have 3 kids, and the only thing they do is actually watch something that moves, right? But yeah, I think the complexity is just on another level at the moment. It's crazy.
Okay. There's so many opportunities for consumers at the moment to make it easier for themselves finding this out, I suppose. So last year, Johan, you shared some studies and initiatives that highlighted the importance of AI in automotive. You mentioned a Harvard and BCG study where they provided ChatGPT for €25 to over 1,000 consultants, resulting in a 40% improvement in effectiveness and a 25% improvement in speed. So do you believe that we or other businesses have now truly started implementing and working with AI to a good effect?
Yeah, I also said other provocative statements like AI will sell cars next year. I mean, that study specifically, I mean, for €25, you became 40% better and 25% faster. It's quite a good ROI, right? Yeah. I mean, AI is everywhere nowadays, but I would say if you look at these large language models, which we have been kind of used to use for our daily work, like ChatGPT, Claude, and these models, over 80% of us employees are using them for our work today already, since last year. It's quite a lot. But only 18% of the company's employers have actually some sort of policy or governance structure around AI, which is not great because I've seen far too many sensitive, confidential data shared because we want to use these platforms, but there is no policy. So we are using them, sharing all this information, and it's open for everyone else to look at now. So it's not great. And I would say also something that we have not seen is safe playgrounds where people can meet, where champions can meet internally and just try out things. I think we are using it, but the companies are not really embracing it, so to say, yet. I think that's what we start to see next year. Yeah.
Sophie, your thoughts?
Well, I completely agree that we're a bit ahead in our personal lives.
Yes.
I don't know how many people are using like Google Lens, for example, where you can like hold up your camera, you take a picture, it will search for something. It's amazing. It's my favorite. But we're really used to that. The funny thing is, though, with companies, at an enterprise level, to do that kind of deep re-engineering and rethinking of your processes, many companies have only just begun to ideate. But what's funny is while they're sitting in the room kind of agonizing about how should we deploy AI, if you just walk one room down the corridor and go and talk to the marketing team, you'll find that if anyone's already doing Google advertising, so PPC or digital campaigns even on social or on YouTube, those teams are using AI, and because that's already completely embedded into the heart of all of those digital marketing products. And so the question the leadership team should first be asking is, are we really maximizing everything that we've got available to us? Have we got the right data that we're feeding through into those algorithms? Have we got the right measurement in place to really understand what's giving us the best return? That's where the short-term money is, and there's a real kind of lack of focus on that because people don't know AI, but actually that's actually now here, and most companies are in some way using it if they're using the latest product, and then think about those deeper business use cases in a safe enterprise way.
That lack of policy in a company, that must be quite dangerous. There's risks of not being able to implement things properly, and we must see why companies fail. What are the reasons behind why implementation of AI fails?
There's a lot of studies around that at the moment. This year, studies predict that 80% of all AI projects will fail. That's twice the amount of non-AI projects. So 80% failure rate, it's not great. And study says a lot of things, but if I try to summarize it with 3 or 4 main things why AI usually fails. First of all, lack of quality data. You don't need that much data, but you need quality data. So, if you just look into our CRM or DMS system today, are you happy with the data? Usually no. So fix that first. So quality data is number 1 failure, I would say. And then part of our systems today, there are dinosaurs, right? So you need a system to speak to another system, and inadequate infrastructure is one of the main reasons for failure today. So data systems first, and in order to embrace AI fully, you more or less have to become a software company. So fix that first. And then also, I think we have seen a lot of companies just jumping onto the next big, cool, shiny thing from some big tech company. Fail sometimes. And also something I've seen personally is that, even friends, families, companies, they're just trying to use AI for purposes that AI is not really, you can't fit AI into all the problems. So you really need to think about how can AI help me, or how can AI boost efficiency here, how can I cut costs here, and how can I use AI the most effective way. And AI can't solve everything. Sometimes they need this human element in between. So they think AI can solve everything. They use AI for certain things that AI can't really solve. So I think these 4 things are the main reasons for big failure at the moment. So 80% will fail.
So I think I just reinforce a couple of things. and build on them. One is this idea of like, what are we using it for? Like what we see is one of the biggest challenges. It's actually an organizational challenge, not
Great.
a technical one, which is, are you using it for the highest value use case in your business? If you're using it for some peripheral thing, or it's kind of good PR, but nobody in the business really believed it, then you don't have the staying power and the prioritization to bring these resources together to do it. And these AI tends to be quite cross-functional. So you need teams, at least several different disciplines within IT, but they'll need to connect with the sales team or the commercial team. And so you need a kind of organizational sponsorship and support for a team like that, particularly if some of those people are a bit more younger, more junior in the organization. And so it's actually that kind of leadership and sponsorship that will persevere.
Yeah.
And the other thing, I think I just kind of question the word failure, because the thing about AI is, the tools are improving like literally every day. So the capabilities of what you can do with cloud to bring your data together, that's getting better all the time. And the other thing is, one person's failure is another person's opportunity to test and learn. So if you adopt that mindset from the start with the right sponsorship and teams, then you would actually take some of those things and be like, actually, you know what we've learned here is X, and because this was a really important use case for us, we're going to keep going to get the money in the next few months. And I think many organizations are not used to working that way, and there's a bit of an organizational challenge we need to address, as well as these big technical things that Johan mentioned.
I guess it can be easy for organisations or individuals in organisations to see any kind of small, easy wins for them, but it's not something then that's shared across the business as a whole. What does it take to make a really good, really true kind of AI and automation company and product today? It does seem that every company suggests that they're AI driven nowadays. It can't surely be the case, but what are the elements and investments that are required to make an authentic AI business? Johan?
I actually think you will be the best one to answer this. I mean, when it comes to us, we've been doing this for 5 years. We probably have 30, 35 full-time AI engineers training every single day throughout time zones, basically 24/7. And we train our system on 500,000 cars every single month to perfect the way we present the cars in different formats for different platforms. So it takes a lot of time and money and resources and data. We need a lot of data because a lot of models across the world to create a system that actually works. And I think we also got a little bit lost saying AI-driven everywhere. We lost the value proposition. So we just say AI-driven everywhere. I think that's not great. Who cares what's behind, right? As long as it works. But yeah, it takes a lot. I think you have more to the subject than I do.
I think this idea of like, is it commercial? Like, is the juice worth the squeeze? Like, that's critical. And then I think I've talked also about skills, so bringing together those teams and what's the leadership. Something I'd add there that's a really core belief of Google itself as a company, but I really see this in all the partners that we work with, is a commitment to pace, how speedy companies want to be. We did a piece of research last year. I did an analysis of how long it took different types of companies to roll out an AI solution. And this, by the way, was like an out-of-the-box solution. So it was completely available with anybody who was already using PPC. And we spoke to a load of partners and said, do you want to give this a go? It's AI-driven. It will perform better. And there was a full year difference between the ones who said, great, let's go for it, pushed it through, kept testing, learning, and scaled it. They were a year ahead by the time another group of companies had decided to give it a go. It wasn't because they were the slow ones weren't bigger or more complicated. It was just how much they prioritized it and tested it. And so I think there's something about committing to pace that then helps bring everybody together on the same page, and then you can look at the infrastructure and the technical skills that you need and what you have available already.
Okay. What do you need to get going? Give us some examples of how you can use fully integrated solutions.
So I prepped for this question. So I have a few slides. I'm going to use ourselves, obviously, as an example. So to add into what you started with, the whole complexity with the buying journey, 6 months, a lot of more channels and platforms, and you need to be visible basically everywhere, and that's basically impossible. And I mean, marketeers and sales reps, I think they need a little bit of a AI sprinkle to release some stress, right? The content creation part and distribution part of the ad sets, to all of these platforms, this is actually a Peter Vardy example. It's just a very summarized version of how it works. It's much more detailed than this, but basically just to make it very clear, when the car arrives, trade price, the data entry, the photo session, the editing, the Q&A, which is quite a lot if you have a lot of sites, and then they upload it on their website and AutoTrader or any other marketplace, but that's usually how it works. It's used to take a few days, sometimes a week, sometimes an hour, and then you update it, because yes, time to market is quite crucial. I have a 30-second video how it works now.
Meet Bob. Bob works at Acme Auto Dealership. A new stock arrived and he wants to get them online ASAP because every day he waits is money lost. Bob uses Phyron app. Its built-in AI assistant guides the entire photo shoot from A to Z, ensuring that Bob's photos are perfect. Within 5 minutes, Bob has captured every angle of the car, and his pictures are sent to Phyron AI, where the real content magic happens. His photos are enhanced in studio quality images and transformed into engaging videos. Perfect for Acme Auto's website, local marketplaces, and social media, where Bob's ads are published automatically. Bob just did the work of an entire team with Phyron. He saved time and money. His cars are online faster. His revenue is growing. Be more like Bob, powering your automotive ads with AI and automation.
And this is basically how it works. So it takes 3 to 4 minutes. Then you have the imagery, you have the Q&A doing everything for you. So AI checks all the photos, sort them out, upscale, make sure they are aligned. Videos are created for the website, AutoTrader calling out the best specifications for that specific car. But then also we have a YouTube channel, automatically posted and created towards YouTube, so all cars are up and running there. And then also something is growing a lot. The social media channels such as Meta. So all the inventory ads also created in real time, different ad sets. So one car could end up with 5 or 6 or 7 different videos, imagery, different formats for different platforms, distributed in real time. And now we're also live on Google Vehicle Listing Ads. This is quite important. So when you search for a used car, you pop up there as well. So that's also a separate format. So without AI and automation, this would be impossible with this many sites and this many sales reps and marketeers in between. And we have estimated the cost saving for them, for around $250 per car. And they spend more or less like a coffee per car.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Because of the time to market, speed of sales, and higher CTRs and stuff like that.
And there'll be a revenue benefit as well, because I think what's interesting is what I love about this is it's about really understanding that complex customer journey and just recognizing that you can't manually optimize to be in the right place. And to give you an idea of the pace of change, with something like vehicle listing ads, we launched that like a year ago, and now, a year later, it's 40% of all the clicks in the market. So when somebody searches for a car, 40% of all those clicks are going to somebody showing a vehicle ad. And so the limiting factor becomes being able to create the assets. And I think the other thing that's really interesting about this is it's taking one use case, like one kind of killer reason to do something or a difficult process or something that's a limiting factor, and using AI to solve that. And then getting lots of different people on board, because you need to have the person in the Bob has to be on board, the IT team has to be on board, the business case has to be made, bringing everyone together to really see that, testing it, learning, capturing the benefits. And then you move on to the next use case. You're not going to find AI to solve every single thing in your business overnight, so you've got to go for something like this where the money is.
absolutely. Just an aspect from the Peter Vardy case study. I was chairing a round table just earlier, and the one thing every retailer agreed was speed of sale and efficiency of getting the cars into the market, getting them sold, and getting them moved on in the next opportunity.
Yes.
Because it just means cash, doesn't it? And it really kind of reinforces what the Peter Vardy study was saying. Looking at the kind of customer experience, how can AI improve and customize the interactions that retailers have with their customers nowadays?
You want to say?
Well, so, I mean, we've all actually, I'm sure we've all come across when we've been shopping, like chatbots which are driven by AI just to speed up service. There's actually some other really cool examples, though, which are, for example, using AI to appraise damage or price a car so that it makes it easier to have that conversation with a customer, and of course also makes more money at the other end too. But also, not just a chatbot, but using AI for knowledge management and internal search. So AI is amazing at taking all different, maybe like manuals, marketing materials, video reviews, and then taking that, squishing it all around, it's a very technical term, squishing it all around, and you can then query that and say, okay, well, what should I say to the customer who comes in to help me sell this car? Or how should I quickly answer that question and have that knowledge at your fingertips? So there's a knowledge management opportunity, and also assisting call center staff with the right scripts, and even then writing the call up afterwards automatically so that they don't have to waste time on that, can really focus on being there for customers.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, in terms of chatbots, I think we need to a little bit rebrand that to more to look at as conversational tools. And I think inbound has been growing. I think that's where AI works today. Outbound is not perfect yet because it's not that much data. But when it comes to inbound and conversational tools, I think that's really starting to work. Yeah. And also something that is coming is really hyper-personalization with conversational tools for all these platforms, because what works on TikTok doesn't work at your website. And so it's different audiences, different types of communication behavior and stuff like that. So you really need to adapt to the platforms. But conversational tools is really starting to work. Within a couple of months now, I think a lot of interesting things will come out also from these large language models. So it will be even better.
Right. Okay. Well, looking kind of even further out than that, what does the future hold for AI, and what are we going to see in this industry?
So interesting. We are using AI as an assistant today, more or less. So as an extra brain. What's coming is, I think everyone has read about this already, is agents. So think of it as a brain with legs, doing everything for us. So fully autonomous. So more or less like a fully autonomous car. Executing, planning, basically require no further input from us, doing everything for us. So basically, this is where we can say and tell AI to go out and sell my car, and it will do everything for us. Meaning it has to connect to all your system, so meaning you have to have a system that could work together, and then it will execute and do everything and think for themselves and sell your car. But I think before that, I actually believe we, consumers, we will start to use agents for purchasing or buying or sourcing. So then it will be a very interesting landscape with agents versus agents. What will happen then? I mean, how will we purchase a car, or how will we purchase goods where we will have buyer agents and seller agents meeting? So I think things will move so much quicker than now. That would be interesting. We are heading towards agents. For some areas it works, but I think it will take a couple of years more.
Okay.
I think when we ask consumers, so firstly, like, people are already buying online today,
Yes.
which effectively is a purely automated thing. I mean, that was in our surveys, that was like 6% of all sales just even 3 years ago. Now it's over a quarter of sales. But consumers also really like the physical contact. So
Yes.
86% of all journeys are in fact digital, so online and physical. And some consumer segments, and so for example women are among them, actually prefer to go to a dealer to speak to somebody to get like really clear, straightforward information. But I think what's interesting is what they're looking for when they have that physical contact is changing and will change even more in the future. Because if all the kind of processing and the kind of like back office mess has been streamlined, and if by the time you go in through the door, you've already done an extraordinary amount of research. And by the way, one stat that really stood out to me was like over a third of people choose their dealer online and know exactly what car is there before they even step through the door. So if that's the case, then what you expect to get when you walk in and how the dealer experience can really enrich, upsell, improve your customer experience, that will be different. And I think perhaps the training, the expectations that we set for that dealer experience might need to evolve.
Yeah, I can add into that because we just did a study, just completed a study actually. So we asked 2,000 adults in the UK, and we asked them, do you actually want AI to help you to purchase or source the next car? And also, and one thing they actually said was that they believe purchasing a car is more stressful than purchasing a house now.
Yeah.
And we had to ask why. So we did a follow-up study on these 2,000 adults, and basically saying because of the EVs. That was the tipping point. So it's just complicated. So we need to help them, and I think AI can do a lot here. But the younger generations between 18 to 44 said yes, half of them at least said yes, we want AI to help us, at least to source and to find some of this potential.
People want personalization, they want clarity, they want recommendations, they like having really clear information, and they're going and doing all of that research for themselves in a really extreme way. And so the question is, how does the dealer play a role in showing up in the right moment and also then facilitating that conversation online and offline?
And creating that brand online, because that's tricky.
The other thing to think about the future is not just the consumer lens, but also the business economics of it. Because like I said, if there's this big gap between the early adopters and the ones who start to try AI and find the right use cases for it, and the ones who don't, then that, if you play that forward, means that in a few years' time, you'll get some who have managed to improve customer service, bring in more leads, take cost out. And what does the future look like there in terms of the landscape of the industry?
Yeah, absolutely. Just on the agent to agent kind of opportunity here. So are we saying that there's a possibility in the future that systems will understand us as a consumer probably as well as we know ourselves, and will then be able to speed up or facilitate that buying journey that we generally as a consumer kind of set out doing our research, that people will potentially make their decisions or have their decisions guided for them much quicker. I guess with data and AI kind of growing in the years ahead, is that possible?
Well, so you mean in terms of how consumers might use AI to make their choices?
Yeah,
I mean, Google has a tool called Notebook LM. I don't know how many people have used it or something similar. I started playing around with it. To give an example of what's possible, we had a really complicated Google product, and I wanted to understand, well, how would I actually, what kinds of partners would this be suitable for? I can't read all these documents, this is too much. I uploaded it all into Notebook LM, and I said, what questions should I be asking my partners to find out if this is suitable for them? And it came back with a list of really great ideas, questions, other things I should consider, made my life massively easier, and that's just one tiny example. So absolutely, I think particularly younger customers or people who are more tech savvy already will be saying, God, I've got to find a car. Okay, I'm going to shove all of this information into a tool like Notebook LM, and then it's going to recommend something to me. But I think because of the size of the purchase, you still see people wanting that person. Some people, not everybody, still want that kind of personal interaction. And I think the implication, though, also for dealers is how are you using your data and your online presence to then be there in that consideration set, so that no matter whether someone's sifting through it themselves or using AI to support them, how have you shown up in that journey to make sure that they knew that you were around the corner, that you had the car they were looking for, that the car they were looking for was amazing, that your service was fantastic? And that's all information that you can kind of be putting out there.
Okay. Just before we open to questions from the floor, so we reported on it a year or two ago, Johan, the statement around AI will be selling cars, which obviously for people employed in the industry was probably a bit like, wow, okay, what will my future hold? What are your kind of thoughts, both of you now, on that? And I mean, you've just talked, Sophie, about people still want to go into the dealership, they still want that human interaction. What are we likely to see?
We just had a chat about that before we started, and I think it's a bit of a provocative statement saying that AI will be able to sell cars. I believe AI will be able to sell cars, yes, but I don't know exactly when. I asked the audience last year here, like how many you believe AI will be able to sell cars during 2025, and I guess like 98% of everyone raised their hands. I was speaking at the event in Milan 2 weeks ago at the Fleet Europe event. I asked the same question. 5% raised their hands.
Oh.
So it kind of declined a lot. Yeah. So I think AI will, but not at the same pace probably. But yeah, things will move much faster. I mean, just look at the last year from where we are now. I mean, basically everyone is using it. 80% is using ChatGPT and anything else to boost their work today, to become better, faster. Things are moving so fast, faster than we have ever seen before. So next year, we will start to see some examples. We have seen some companies, some publicists trying to sell cars with AI. It doesn't work yet, so don't try, but it will. But yeah.
And it kind of depends what you mean. What do you mean by sell in that whole journey? I think people are using AI already to speed up the processes, make sure people have the tools to hand to then assist them sell the cars. And the other thing is absolutely already here today is you can be really sure that it was AI that drove the person to turn up at the door in the first place, because any online marketing that's been done, anyone who's been well using Google products, be that a dealer or a manufacturer, they're using AI already and scaling that out in all of those PPC, digital marketing, and brand campaign products.
Yeah, and I mean the whole intent data, where you used to be able to look at one source and say, hey, everything works here, so just it doesn't really work.
It's become much more complicated,
yes,
and you need
so
AI
broken.
to figure out, should I show somebody, should I show customer A a YouTube ad, or should I show customer B a vehicle ad? Where am I going to make most money? And that's not something that anyone can now manually sit and figure out. And in Google, like 15% of all the searches every day are new, have never been seen before. And also there's just billions of searches every month. So. But actually the good news is that most teams probably are actually already using those products. It's just you've got to find those people in the organization and ask them, what are you doing? How does it work? How can I help?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, and I think we are starting to sign some customers in the States, so we're expanding there as well. The biggest difference versus here is basically you put so much more time and effort and money into other channels than your website and marketplace. So you're really trying to embrace the whole buying funnel. All these channels, because of the intent data, is pretty tricky to understand what works at the moment. So they're really trying to put their brand out there absolutely everywhere at the moment. So they're really trying to embrace all the tools that are out there, so they're available absolutely everywhere.
Right. Okay. Learn fast, I guess, and adapt. Absolutely.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Do we have any questions from the floor, from the audience? Any questions for our experts?
Who's already using it? Who would say here that they were already using AI in their business? Yeah.
Good.
Are you confident you're using it to your best ability or its best effect? That would be my question.
No.
I imagine it's quite a learning curve for everyone, isn't it?
Yeah, I think so. And people are worried about it's the very first time, like as business leaders, like I'm from a retail background. Um, I used to work at like John Lewis, and I've worked with retailers most of my working life. And it used to be that someone would walk onto the shop floor and they could almost like smell the air and they knew whether something was wrong. They'd be like, well, this shop's not well managed. And you'd be like, what?
Yeah.
What? Like, what? Oh no, I know it. I imagine it's pretty much the same. You walk into a dealership and you're like, something's not weird. This isn't right. And it was because of experience. And this is the very first time that experience is not a helpful guide because it's all new. So now the most senior people in the business, you don't know what you should, what the good looks like, what questions to ask. And I think what I see works really well is the people, when I work with companies where the leader is, or the senior team is like curious and is asking questions and is trying things, that's how you begin to build that groups and teams of knowledge. But it's a different, so it's a, that's my kind of from working with loads of different companies.
I'm interested in obviously the large scale kind of top end of the AM100 groups have the resources to kind of be all over this and be exploring things. But for a smaller dealer, who in the business is best placed to be really kind of investigating how AI and technology can be helping the business? And what do you reckon? How do they get started in a way?
I think you start off by talking about the business outcome of things. I think that's what you need to look at, the bottlenecks and then the business outcome of that specific bottleneck. And then create this, I would really recommend to create this safe playground and meet and start to try to figure out one or two of these bottlenecks. I mean, every department can actually use AI today. It's been basically a lot to embrace and use for, especially for the marketing department. But I mean, we use it now across all departments. We will start to see the first one-person unicorn very soon. That's happening, which is pretty cool.
Yeah.
I think where I would get started would be, I love this idea of like encouraging everybody to try and use it in a safe way in the company, but like to try and use it. The other thing is find providers who have a use case that looks super relevant and learn by talking to them and digging into that, like the example you gave.
Agree.
But the other thing is a lot of companies, even really small companies, will already be using cloud computing, for example. So if anyone's using like Google Cloud, or like I said already, Google products, is talking to the person they work with on those things to say, well, okay, well, what's already out, what's in the box already that I could be using, and how would I get started with one of those things? And what we're finding, the big difference now versus, say, 3 years ago with AI, is that these tools are basically out the box. So you used to have to hire a data scientist to build you a model. Now, the model already exists. What you have to do is feed your data into it and then see whether you like the outcome and then train the model through your data and telling it whether it was right or not to do better, and then find the business application. So it's more of a business problem. It's not, you don't have to have a team of coders.
No.
And so I think I would start by talking to your existing providers, and even a really small company will be using some kind of IT cloud provider. It will have some kind of way that it already creates marketing assets and photography and things like that.
Okay. Do we have like 1 minute?
Yeah.
Completely off topic. to add into that, I just relocated from Stockholm to the UK, so I just moved here. So I'm starting to explore this bar, pub life, which is kind of weird for me as a Swede to bring the kids to the pub. But so Embrace. So we meet every Saturday, all the Swedes in London. We meet at the specific pub every Saturday. And I found myself a couple of minutes in talking to the pub owner, I think he's also like the bartender. I was like, because my favorite beer was sold out again. For the second Saturday in a row. So I was like, no, I want my beer. So, then I looked at the receipt and it said actually exactly what kind of beer I ordered. So he has the data. So he should be able to I was like, but you have all this data, you should be able to predict what to order, so you can, you have a variety here, but you can streamline it a little bit more, create better margins, because it's tricky to create margins those days, right? Mm-hmm. And then he was like, AI will take my job, right? And then he just moved on to the next customer. To the next level, I screamed after him, like, to the next level. But basically, a year ago, you would needed a fully engineered team or a consultancy agency, and the cost for predicting would probably be a lot more than the benefits
Yeah.
or the outcome of that. And then I went home, I Googled, and I found like 10 different suppliers, which he could just tap into his
Yeah.
cash system, whatever it's called, and get that data for $150 a month and be up and running and streamlining and creating better margins.
Yeah, that's
So
true.
yeah, you have the data.
Yeah.
Huge opportunities there. Yeah, absolutely. Fantastic. Just before we wrap up, any questions from the floor? Oh, we have a question.
Hi, good morning. It's
Oh, we can't quite hear, so
hello.
yeah.
Hi, good morning. It's Shaq from Pentagon Motor Group. It's a question for Johan. So just with Phyron, currently the focus has been around imagery and video engines. Do you have any plans to sort of move further into lead handling, lead management, and that area? Yes, just from an automotive retail perspective, it's good to use single suppliers to manage the whole chain, really. So yeah, just your thoughts on that?
So I think for us the next step is to basically from pre-sales to post-sales, from contracts to remarketing, with retargeting. I mean, I'm buying a car here, so I spend a lot of time configuring the latest EX90 because I'm a big Volvo fan, because I'm Swede. And I ended up with a 15-page PDF after spending 10 minutes building that next 120K car, which is quite expensive car. Yeah, we will try to videofy that. We will try to videofy the contracts, the remarketing stuff after 3 years. We have a lot of data saved. We can just rebrand that, localize that, reuse these assets, distribute them. So we try to automate the whole funnel from A to Z, and then do the remarketing afterwards. So that's basically the next year for us. So ad channels. Yeah. Thank you.
Any further questions? Oh, we have another question over here.
Josh at MediaHawk. Josh at MediaHawk. Given that AI can hallucinate and in some cases actually be tricked. I don't know if this.
Yeah, hold it really close. Yeah.
Given that AI can in some cases hallucinate or be tricked in some cases by customers interacting with it, what advice would you give to place safeguards or preventative measures against that kind of thing from happening?
So that's one of the reasons why it's really important to distinguish between the AI that all of us are using versus enterprise level or business AI. So when you are using it, and the safeguards that were mentioned at the start, so when you upload your own data, so your own manuals, the reviews that you think are fine, your own customer data in some cases, when you are uploading that in a safe way into cloud, for example, then that's the space that it goes to look for the answers, so that it can't do that level of hallucination. And there are further things that companies should be doing to just safeguard. It's not just about hallucinating. At Google, we try to be really, we have really strong guidelines for our own models about bias as well. So if you are doing forecasting of what kinds of customers are likely to buy, or what questions should we be asking these customers, you'd want to make sure and have a way of testing models before they get used to make sure that they don't have unintended biases in them as well. So I think that's thinking about those things, putting a few of those guidelines in place, but also using enterprise level software. What you don't want is your dealer on the shop floor themselves, because they're a super enterprising kind of person, taking all the car reviews out there in the world that they think are great and a few manuals which are probably outdated and marketing materials they really liked from 3 years ago, and shoving that into a model, and then they come up with the best thing you should talk to a customer about, and actually, you know what, it might work, but sometimes it might not work, instead of actually you kind of thought about how to do it. And the challenge is how businesses don't get slowed down by that process, don't get weighed down by these ideas of these guidelines and restrictions, but instead use that as a way to make sure that their AI is the best. Like if I walk into a particular brand's dealership, I'm expecting the people there to give me the absolutely best view because they have insider knowledge as well that they can refer to. So yeah, that's the difference between enterprise and wild.
Thank you very much.
Anything else you wanted to know?
Time for one last question, if there's one more. No, can't. I think we'll wrap up. Thank
All right,
you,
thank you.
Sophie from Google and Johan from Phyron.
Thank you, Tim.
Thank you
Really
very much.
interesting.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.